Hello everyone, how are you all doing? It's good to have you back. Alright, in the last class we talked about past perfect tenses where we were able to do some exercises on net. And I told you last time that I have lots of exercises on past perfect tenses. This is because I want you to get very used to it so that if you're asked in any way to change a present tense to the past perfect tense form, you should be able to know what to do. Alright, coming back to what I have on the board, I told you in the last class that every past perfect tense must introduce the word had. Had plus the past participle verb. Had plus past participle verb. This is how you tell if your sentence is in the past perfect tense or not. Alright, I have an exercise on the board here. We are asked now to choose the correct verb from. We are asked to choose the correct verb from the list below. From the list below. List below. Alright. So we are asked to choose the correct verb from the list below. We have a list here of action words. Escape, go, leave, fly, eat, ring, change, write. So we are asked to pick the correct one. Now we are asked, put the verb in the past perfect tense. Put the verb in the past perfect tense. Remember, look at what we have in parentheses. Had and past participle. Had and past participle. You must always introduce your had, like I've always told you. Now let's look at number one. When I got to the house, Mary wasn't there. When I got to the house, Mary wasn't there. She dash already dash. So what do you think will be here? Always introduce your had. She had already dash. What will be the correct verb that will fit in the space? Is it she had already escaped, leave, eat, change, go, fly, ring, write? Now, when you look at these verb words, you will see that the correct and appropriate word is leave. Leave. Now, what is the past participle for leave? We have left. Left. So let's take the sentence now. When I got to the house, Mary wasn't there. She had already left. So you are changing the present to the past participle. Don't bring in the words the way they appear here. You must change them to their past participle to make your sentence correct. Now let's look at number two. I didn't recognize my old classmate because she dashed so much. I didn't recognize my old classmate because she dashed so much. The appropriate verb here is not this, not this, not this, it's not this, it's not this, but this is appropriate. Change. So change now becomes she had changed so much. Now let's take the sentence. I didn't recognize my old classmate because she had changed so much. Can you see that? Fantastic. Let's come to number 3. We were late for the show last night. We were late for the show last night. By the time we got to the theater, the movie, what do you think will be here? Good. Had already started. Had already started. Can you see that? Let's take the sentence now. We were late for the show last night. By the time we got to the theater, the movie had already started. Can you see now? Okay, let's go to number 4. Yesterday, I went on my first plane trip. Yesterday, I went on my first plane trip. I was very nervous because I never before. Because I had never, the past participle for fly. I had never flew before. Let's take the sentence now. Yesterday, I went on my first plane trip. I was very nervous because I had never flew before. I had never flew before. Now let's take a look at number 5. I couldn't eat much dinner last night. I couldn't eat much dinner last night because I dashed such a big lunch. Because I had the past participle for eat. Because I had such. I had eaten, I had eaten. Let me create more space. Because I had eaten such a big lunch. I couldn't eat much dinner last night because I had eaten such a big lunch. Can you see that? Your had followed by a past participle. Remember. Okay, let's look at number 6. Last week, our teacher gave back the essay we dashed the week before. Last week, our teacher gave back the essays we, remember, had. What the past participle for write? Written. We had written the week before. Last week, our teacher gave back the essays we had written the week before. Can you see that? All right, let's move to number 7. They got to school late yesterday. They got to school late yesterday. They got to school late yesterday. The bell, what will be here? Fantastic. Had already was the past participle for ring? Rang. Had already rang. They got to school late yesterday. The bell had already rang. Can you see that? All right, let's look at number 8. Number 8 says, by the time the police arrived at the bank, the robber already dashed. By the time the police arrived at the bank, the robber, what do you think will be here now? Had. Fantastic. Had already. The past participle for escape, escaped. Fantastic. Had already escaped. Now let's take this again once more. By the time the police arrived at the bank, the robber had already escaped. So you can see it's very easy when you're making or constructing your sentences using the past participle tense. Now, we are done with one exercise. We are going to be doing another exercise on this same topic, past participle tenses. Talking about the first exercise now, we are going to be looking at exercise 2 on same topic, past perfect tenses. Now, for this exercise, let's hear what we're asked to do. We are asked to make sentences with the past perfect. Make sentences with the past perfect and the words provided. We have words provided for us in parentheses. We have words provided for us in parentheses. There are many of them. So we're asked to follow the number 1 example. This is example 1. And watch me as I go through this with you, because they want us to do it exactly the way number 1 is done for us. I missed my plane. That's what we have here at first. I missed my plane. Airport, plane, take off. So now we are asked to change the sentence to the past perfect. Now look at what we have here. By the time I got to the airport, by the time I got to the airport, the plane had already taken off. So you can see now. So we are asked to change to the past perfect in this manner. We must start with by the time to complete this in the past perfect. So, by the time I got to the airport, the plane had already taken off. Now, number 1, or letter A, sorry. For letter A, we have, I missed the show. Theater, movie, start. Now, how will I change this to the past perfect? Remember, start with by the time. By the time I got to the show, by the time I got to the theater, by the time I got to the theater, the movie had already started. Let's take the sentence together. By the time I got to the theater, the movie had already started. Can you see that? Okay. Let's look at the letter B. Let's look at the letter B. I would like you to guess this yourself. What do you think this would be? I couldn't get my prescription. So how can you change this? When you start with by the time to get your past perfect, what do you think the sentence now will become? Can you try? Alright, let's do it together. I couldn't get my prescription, remember? So now we'll start. By the time I could get my prescription, by the time I could, by the time I got, by the time I got my prescription. So, by the time I got my prescription, the drugstore had already closed. By the time I got my prescription, the drugstore had already closed. Can you see that? All right, let's look at letter C. We couldn't buy the house. We saw someone else make an offer. So how can we change this to the past perfect? All right, this will become by the time we saw the house, by the time we saw the house, someone else had made an offer. Can you see that? Not make now. This changed to made. Had. By the time we saw the house, someone else had made an offer. All right. Let's look at letter D. Letter D. I didn't get the job. I didn't get the job. I apply. They hire someone else. So what do you think will be the past perfect for this sentence now, beginning with by the time. Can you guess? Okay, let's go together. This will become by the time by the time I applied, remember, apply. By the time I applied for the job, by the time I applied for the job, they had hired someone else. Hired, had. By the time I applied for the job, they have hired someone else. Or we can say they have already hired someone else. Yes. So let's put already here. They had already hired someone else. Now let's take the sentence together. By the time I applied for the job, they had already hired someone else. Can you see that? All right, let's go to the last letter, letter E. I didn't get to see the game. I didn't get to see the game. I turned on the TV, game finished. So this will become by the time I turned on the TV, the game had already finished. Can you see that? Let's take it together. By the time I turned on the TV, the game had already finished. So, you can see that all these are very easy. It's just for us to settle down our minds and we'll do very, very good. All right. I will be giving you exercises on these to do. Please, I urge you to settle down and do it well. Do your classwork very, very well. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.